Come take a drive with me down memory lane. Over hills into Scarsdale, let's hit the Benedict Trail and see how our family has grown into who we are today. Grandpa Melvin Wright Benedict handwrote a journal back in the 1960s. Taking excerpts of his writing, this is the rest of the story. We are so lucky to have his memories, bringing his Grandpa Benedict, Grandmother Wright, and Aunt Lou to life. I am so proud of the family we've become, our tree growing from pilgrim roots dug deep into the landscape of colonial America, among first Europeans to make this soil home.
It's hard not to wax sentimental about the farm. I think Bobby and Spencer will agree. Our first real taste of all wilderness. Grandpa bought the farm in 1946 at a sheriff's sale for $4,500, some 200 acres in the Mohican River in Loudonville. He sold it for $16,500 in 1962 to a Dr. Charvat from Cleveland. Not so very long ago, Bobby met the son when she went back to the farm for a look-see with a friend. The son said his father made him promise never to sell it. Well, never is a very long time. I still fantasize about the day I can call a piece of the farm, if only a half-acre lot, my own. I don't remember going down there until I was in 3rd grade. We'd often stop at a popcorn wagon before we turned off Route 3 onto Wally Road, which at the time followed along the river for what seemed like many miles before turning left and crossing over the big iron bridge. Once we crossed the bridge, we were there. The farm was on the left, the farmhouse directly across the road on the right. I was only in the farmhouse once. It was empty and freshly painted, ready for new tenants. Mom said Grandpa worked like a dog fixing the place up, even rebuilt the chimney, but never collected more than $30 a month rent, if he was lucky. Tenants were known to move out without giving notice. What fascinated me more than the house itself was the spring house, an outdoor refrigerator of sorts, housing a cement basin festooned with field stones. Neat. Martin, I don't know if that was his first or last name, from the neighboring farm, planted several acres of corn, took care of the livestock, a few head of cattle and a small flock of sheep, and shared profits with Grandpa. One Easter morning, while everyone else was still sleeping, I went down to the barnyard, caught a lamb, carried it back to the cottage, and dumped it on the floor. I was sure everybody would be thrilled and maybe even catch the Easter significance of lamb. Spencer and Bobby thought it was pretty neat, but Dad gave me hell. It was still worth it. The pièce de résistance was not the farm, but the cottage up on the hill, where we stayed. By today's standards, it wasn't anything spectacular. Basically, one big room with a round wooden table covered with red checkered oilcloth, some green wicker furniture, and a big brass bed. The stone fireplace was huge. Above the mantel hung a turn of the century, 19th that is, group photo of fishermen musicians standing under a Camp Crusoe banner. The cottage itself was named Camp Mohican. At least that's the name spelled out with little pink ceramic tiles embedded in the cement chimney outside the cabin. I loved the musty smell that greeted us when we opened the door to the cabin and thought this was what pioneer life must have been like. The lack of running water was definitely a plus as far as I was concerned, because it gave us kids a real pioneer job to fetch water from the Indian bathtub on the other side of the creek, up on the hill. I knew the spring house was man-made, but believed with all my heart that the Indian bathtub was a natural edifice. Likewise, the rusty pipe jutting out of the rocks above the tub, from which ice-cold spring water gushed. The flip side of having no running water was the stinky outhouse. I'd read somewhere that it was called a necessary room, but I didn't understand why those damn spiders were necessary. No matter how urgent her need, Bobby was petrified to go in there. I remember her screaming like a baby as Mom held her over the hole, promising not to let her fall in, while I held the door open to let in some light. What we loved about the farm was the feeling of total freedom, being allowed to play in the creek, build dams, have boat races with hickory nut hulls, and climb up high on the big rocks. I would have been startled but not shocked to find a real-life Mohican hiding on his horse behind one of them. The best day ever. It was an unseasonably warm Indian summer morning as Spencer and I waited at the end of the driveway for the school bus to Lockwood Elementary. To our surprise, Mom backed the car out of the garage and Dad came out holding a picnic basket in one hand and Bobby in the other. How strange. Dad took Wednesday afternoons off but still opened the animal hospital from 8 until noon. What was going on? We heard him say, "Damn it, Connie, you said the kids were already on the bus." She shrugged as Spencer and I ran up to the car yelling, "Where are you going?" Dad looked at Mom. "Should we let them go too?" "We might as well," she answered. "Okay," he said. We were going to take a ride to Loudonville to check things out at the farm and figured we'd be back before you kids got home from school. But since you haven't caught the bus yet, you can either go with us or have us drop you off at school. It's up to you. What a dumb question. Within 2 seconds, we were in the back seat, rooting through the picnic basket Mom had packed. This was just the beginning of a glorious day. Grandma and Grandpa were on a fishing trip in Canada, so we had the cabin to ourselves. But Mom and Dad had other plans. They had packed boots, our play clothes, and 2 bamboo fishing poles and announced we were going creeking. And Mom said she was going too. We climbed up behind the Indian bathtub and sloshed downhill through the stream, which led to the mighty Mohican. Dad and Spencer said they were going to catch fish for our dinner. Mom and Bobby and I got down on our knees, turned over stones along the shore looking for salamanders. Then Mom showed us how to make mud pies on flat rocks. The guys didn't have any luck with the fish, but caught something much better. 2 huge salamanders that reminded me of slimy, toothless lizards. Dad called them mud puppies. However, they didn't enjoy being petted. Dad said they wouldn't last very long in a cage, so we reluctantly let them loose. Then we were all a muddy mess and getting chilly, so it was time to head back to the cabin. It was harder trekking uphill than sloshing downhill. Dad built a fire. We roasted reenies in the fireplace and each had our own bottle of Coke and Hostess cupcakes for dessert. Mom said she'd never had such fun. It sure beat being stuck in the cottage with Grandma. No wonder we kids slept on the way home, but there was one more surprise. Mom made us brush our teeth and wash our hands, then let us go to bed with dirty feet. The summer after 4th grade, I spent a week at Camp Ledgewood and learned everything anyone would ever want to know about the great out-of-doors, including the identification of robins, cardinals, maples, oaks, and the important distinctions between flies and mosquitoes. It was my duty as a budding naturalist to share my wealth of wildlife knowledge with less fortunate city dwellers. In Nanan, an apartment dweller, I found the perfect audience the first time she ever visited the farm. I was trying to impress her as we walked hand in hand toward the cabin from the bittersweet field, when she told me to watch where I was stepping. There, sunning itself in the middle of the road, was the biggest black snake God ever created. Even then, I was built more for comfort than speed, but that Sunday, I set a world's record for flight, making it back to the cabin, slamming the door behind me, without ever touching ground. Nanan arrived still chuckling about 20 minutes later and kidded me about the so-called harmless sleeping snake for many years. Does anyone remember the time we opened the cottage in the cabin and found a perfectly seamless snakeskin draped across the mantel? Wonder how the snake got in and where he went after he shed his skin.
Yeah, we'd go down to Loudonville to the cabin down there, and I think Spence and I, every now and then, we could sneak away, and we'd go down to the river. Because it was a half a mile or so back to the river where the bridge was. We'd sneak away, and I think even maybe once, maybe twice, we got that far. But a lot of times we just, run around and hide from Bobby and Dickie and stuff like that, and see. Lizards, yeah, salamanders. That was the thing. Yeah, we'd follow that creek down where that stream led out from the watering trough there, and go see if we could, how many, and if we could find any, or how many, and what color they were, salamanders. But yeah, Dad and your dad, they'd go down there to drink beer, and Aunt Connie and Mom would cook some of the stuff, but the steaks, yeah, that was their specialty. And I'm thinking there was a grill work in that fireplace.
Okay.
I mean, you had hooks on the side that you could bring out, or holders that were steel mounted to the sides, and you could bring that out and swing that over the fire like you could cook a pot of stew in it or whatever it was. But yeah, then Dad and Uncle Melvin start drinking beer, and maybe a shot or two in there in between, and yeah, and the one time they took down these big thick steaks, and okay, how you want yours? And they warm. We're looking at each other, and how you want yours? Warm. Yeah, that sounds good. And they threw them, and I was thinking they had a grate or something that was in there they could swing over the fire, and so I'm pretty sure it was Uncle Melvin. He put them on. He flipped it around in there, and then you had a tool that you could drag it back out because that'd get hot. He put them in there, and okay, and they had, they chugged another beer, and okay, and you think they're ready. Well, that side is okay. So he went over and flopped them over, and okay, and by that time we'd only had time to maybe pour a glass of pop or something, and so you think they're warm yet? And yeah, it's, they're getting there. Okay, and I think maybe another 30 seconds they'll be done. Okay, and they pulled them out there, and when they cut into them and the blood squirted out, and no. Give me a hamburger, I'll eat a can of beans. There's got to be something else, because I'm not having. Well, they only brought 2 with them, and that was for each one of them, so that we didn't have to worry about that. The rest of us had hamburgers and hot dogs, which we were not afraid of getting. What is it? What's the pig disease?
Salmonella botulism?
No, only pigs.
Trichinosis?
Yeah, trichinosis. Yeah, that's how much we knew. But anyway, and they sat down there and it cut into them and quit your bawling, and lay down there. I'm going to eat you one way or the other. And oh my golly, and the juice and the blood running out of them. And okay. And so that was their big time. And that cabin was so small that it seemed like we just lined up on the floor and slept or something. Because I don't think we slept in the cars. We could have. I don't know. Maybe should have.